Hey everyone, this is Michael again, and welcome to the Monday Night Raw review. Monday Night Raw tonight was from the AT&T Center in San Antonio, Texas. And what do you expect with Monday Night Raw? The show was absolutely terrible. Another week, another shitty Monday Night Raw. This was a painful 3 hours to get through of watching this show. What do we get on the show tonight? We had Finn Balor versus Rey Mysterio. We had a rematch for the Raw Women's Championship, Carmella versus Bianca Belair, since we just saw that at Money in the Bank. It can't be Monday Night Raw without having a rematch. So we saw that tonight. We had AJ Styles and Ezekiel versus Champa and The Miz. I can't believe Champa is now being with The Miz. I say Champa feels so out of place walking out there with The Miz. He just doesn't fit with The Miz. And then we had Alexa Bliss and Asuka versus Nikki, A.S.H, and Doudrop. We saw this 3 weeks ago, only minus Asuka, because 3 weeks ago was Alexa Bliss and Liv Morgan versus Nikki, A.S.H, and Doudrop. Take out Liv Morgan, put in Asuka, and you had the same quality match that we saw 3 weeks ago. Then we had the Usos and Omas versus the Street Profits and R-Truth in a six-man tag. Yeah, Omos in a six-man tag. And then the main event, we had Bobby Lashley and Riddle versus Seth Rollins and Austin Theory. And we also had Brock Lesnar returning to Monday Night Raw tonight. But that was Monday Night Raw. Overall, painful, awful show tonight. Like I said, it's Monday Night Raw. What do you expect? But anyways, let's jump right in with the review. Monday Night Raw opened up tonight with Brock Lesnar. Brock Lesnar made his way out. Lesnar stepped into the ring. He got on the mic. And he ended up saying, "God bless Texas," which he got a big pop from the crowd there. So he sat down his cowboy hat, to respect the fans of Texas. Lesnar ended up saying that life is good for the tribal chief, Roman Reigns. He ended up saying that since WrestleMania has been living high on the hog, flying private jets, and eating like a king. Lesnar ended up saying that pigs get fat and hogs get slaughtered. He ended up saying that Reigns is a hog. And Lesnar ended up saying that he slaughters hogs on his farm every single day. To which Lesnar ended up calling Reigns the tribal hog. Lesnar ended up saying that Reigns will get a country shit kicking, the likes of which he's never seen. So now we have Paul Heyman. Paul Heyman walked down the stage. He ended up getting booed by the fans there in Texas. Lesnar called Heyman a hog. And so the fans were chanting, "You suck," to Paul Heyman. And Paul Heyman retaliated back to the fans, saying, despite their differences, Brock Lesnar does not suck. So Paul Heyman starts to talk, and Brock Lesnar interrupted him. Lesnar ended up asking if he's going to say something worthwhile. So Paul Heyman ended up saying that they've gone from the stupendous WrestleMania of all time to the most barbaric SummerSlam of all time. And that plays right into Lesnar's hands. Paul Heyman ended up saying that Lesnar is the odds-on favorite at SummerSlam because Reigns defines his greatness. by athletic competition. So he kept saying Lesnar's legacy is annihilating people. So we saw the Usos. They were present at Monday Night Raw tonight. They were watching backstage on the monitor of what Paul Heyman was saying. Paul Heyman ended up saying that Brock Lesnar doesn't care if he sends Reigns to a hospital or even to a morgue. Paul Heyman ended up saying that Lesnar isn't a man and that he's a beast. Well, of course, Brock Lesnar is the beast incarnate. So Paul Heyman ended up saying that he'll give Lesnar his word. As he ended up saying we're approaching 700 days with Roman Reigns as champion. Paul Heyman ended up saying that that is one streak Lesnar won't conquer. He ended up saying that he'll have Reigns trained and ready to pull Lesnar down at SummerSlam. To which Heyman ended up saying that he'll have Reigns reach his hand up Lesnar's ass and rip his heart out if that's what it takes. So Brock Lesnar was going to respond to Paul Heyman, but he ended up getting interrupted by Austin Theory. Austin Theory ended up coming out. He stepped onto the platform, the elevated interview platform that was on the entrance stage. And Theory got on the mic. Theory ended up saying that SummerSlam will be a great night because he's going to win back his United States Championship and then watch the main event. He kept saying, and after it's over, he'll cash in and put a foot on either Reigns or Lesnar's chest and become the undisputed WWE Universal Champion. So Lesnar ended up inviting Theory to fight him in the ring. Theory ended up ignoring Lesnar, inviting him to come into the ring. Theory ended up saying that he has some footage from Elimination Chamber that shows that Lesnar doesn't care about anyone but himself. So then the clip ended up playing. It was the clip of Lesnar delivering the F5 to Theory from one of the top of the pods. And they cut away. They cut to black to avoid showing Austin Theory selling the F5, the impact of Theory's body hitting the floor, that was surrounding the ring. So I'm like, why are you cutting away to black and you don't want to show Theory taking the F5 from the top of the pod and hitting the floor? Like, what is wrong with that? It's not like Theory was bleeding. So why cut away to black to avoid showing the impact of that? We saw it at Elimination Chamber. I mean, go back and watch it on Peacock, and you'll see the impact that Theory took when he got F5 by Lesnar off of the top of the pod and hit the floor. But why would you show the clip and then cut away the black to avoid showing Theory's body hitting the floor around the Elimination Chamber? Like I said, it's not like Theory was bleeding or it was so graphic to show. It's idiotic. Why are you going to show the clip and then cut away to black to avoid showing it? If you want to, black it out to avoid showing it, then you shouldn't have played the clip. So Theory ended up saying that could be Reigns at SummerSlam. And he ended up saying that he showed that to remind to Brock Lesnar that he didn't forget what he did. So then the Alpha Academy, Chad Gable and Otis ended up coming out to ringside. And Brock Lesnar was like, "Oh, all the cockroaches come out when I come to town." So then Lesnar took off his vest. Otis got into the ring. Chad Gable ended up chop blocking Lesnar, to which Lesnar shook it off. And he just annihilated Chad Gable and Otis. So he ended up suplexing Otis. Lesnar ended up going outside the ring. He ended up again the top of the ring steps. He ended up hitting Chad Gable and Otis with the steps. And Chad Gable ended up selling the ring step when Lesnar ended up hitting the ring step at Otis. As you heard a big bang to Chad Gable when Brock Lesnar ended up delivering the step shot to Chad Gable. Lesnar then ended up tossing the ring step into the ring. He went to the timekeeper's area and he retrieved a chair. Lesnar ended up hammering both Chad Gable and Otis with the chair. And so Lesnar picked up Otis and he delivered the F5 to Otis through the commentary table. So Otis was just laid out on the broken down commentary table. Lesnar ended up getting his cowboy hat and posed in the ring with the hat on. And pretty much that was how the segment ended. But I liked this segment. You know, Brock Lesnar, coming out there. But I'm not looking forward to seeing Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns again. Who is looking forward to seeing that match again? It's going to be the same fucking shit with the same moves. Suplex from Brock Lesnar, F5 from Lesnar, Superman punch by Reigns, spear by Reigns. And that's all that match is going to be. Their WrestleMania match was awful, and not even looking forward to this match at SummerSlam. Tell me, are you all looking forward to Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar again at SummerSlam? I know I'm not. And I heard that's going to be the last time that Lesnar and Reigns are going to go at it. Watch. No, that's not going to be the last time they go. WWE will call up Brock Lesnar if they have nobody else for Reigns to fight. Because Reigns has pretty much gone through everybody. Overall, this was an enjoyable segment. I liked it. So then we had Rey Mysterio. Rey Mysterio ended up making his way out. And then as Monday Night Raw came back from the commercial, Finn Balor ended up making his way out. And Balor ended up making his way out along with Damian Priest, known as the Flopman Day. Because ever since they kicked out Edge out of the group, this group has gone the same route as Retribution. A big flop. Now you have Rhea Ripley out, so it's just Balor and Damian Priest. So Balor and Priest, they end up coming out. Corey Graves on commentary end up saying that the Flopman Day's motives are still unclear. So Damian Priest got on the mic, and Priest ended up ordering the crowd to all rise and show him and Balor respect. Priest ended up saying that what happened last week was justice. They played the clip from last week where Balor and Priest ended up beating up the Mysterios backstage. And we also saw the clip where Rey ended up pulling the Eddie Guerrero lie, cheat, and steal shtick. And the referee ended up catching Damian Priest with the chair. And the match ended in disqualification last week, where it was Rey and Dominic teamed up to take on Balor and Priest. So we saw that. So Priest ended up pointing out that Rey will soon be celebrating 20 years since he arrived in the company. So Priest was like to Rey, "You're washed. It's over." Priest ended up saying that Rey has nothing more to offer Dominic. But the Judgment Day, the Flopman Day, has something more to offer. So Priest ended up saying that they will decide the future of this business. And he ended up saying that Dominic is welcome to join them. So Balor ended up saying that Dominic needs to see things their way. Balor ended up saying that Edge was a legend, just like Rey. So then they played the clip of when Edge was tossed out of the group, where you had Balor and Priest beat down on Edge. Ever since that, this whole group is going the way of how Retribution was. A big flop failure. So Balor ended up saying that Edge is gone and that he's not coming back because he was a bad leader. Hell, the group still could have been good if Edge was still a leader, but we all know why they booted Edge from the group. Because apparently WWE wanted to take Judgment Day and add in supernatural stuff with them. But Edge didn't like that, and WWE decided to boot Edge out of the group and have Balor and Priest and Rhea Ripley beat down on him. So that was why Edge was kicked out of the group, because they wanted to take a supernatural turn with the group, and Edge didn't like that. But Balor ended up saying that Rey is a bad father. So Rey ended up punching Balor. Him and Dominic ended up clearing the ring. They tossed out Balor and Priest. And then, as Monday Night Raw came back from the commercial, we had the match, Balor versus Mysterio, which this was a okay match. Rey ended up rallying with a head scissor takedown, which sent Balor to the floor. Rey followed up with a slingshot crossbody from the ring onto Balor on the floor. Rey then ended up rolling Balor back into the ring, and Rey ended up walking into a backbreaker by Balor. Balor ended up going for the cover, to which Rey kicked out at 2. So we had Balor end up leading Rey in the corner, end up driving his shoulder into Rey's back. So Balor ended up pulling Rey back to the center of the ring. He ended up going for the cover, to which Rey kicked out at 2. Balor then ended up putting Rey in a chin lock. So Rey ended up fighting to his feet. He started elbowing out of the chin lock. Balor ended up stalling his momentum, and he hit a vertical suplex to Rey. So then Balor ended up teasing the Three Amigos, but he ended up stopping after one suplex. So he delivered a suplex and slammed Rey to the mat. Rey ended up rolling to the apron, ended up stopping Balor from slamming his head into the ring post. Rey then climbed to the top turnbuckle. Balor ended up cutting Rey off. Rey injured his knee, come down off the top. So Balor then worked on Rey's knee, and he rolled out to the floor. So we had Rey end up sliding headfirst under the bottom rope, and he ended up catching Balor with the code red into the barricade. So then Monday Night Raw went to commercial. Then when Monday Night Raw came back from the commercial, Rey ended up hitting a top rope hurricanrana on Balor. He ended up going for the cover. Balor kicked out at 2. Rey ended up hitting the enziguri, and Balor ended up falling on the middle rope. So that's when Rey hit the 619. He climbed up to the top turnbuckle. Rey ended up missing the frog splash because Balor moved out of the way. Rey ended up grabbing a crucifix pin, to which Balor ended up kicking out at 2. So Balor ended up hitting the reverse DDT on Rey. Balor then ended up going up to the top rope, and he hit the coup de grace on Rey, and he ended up going for the cover. And there you go. Balor ended up winning the match. Overall, the match was okay. So I guess next week we're going to get Dominic versus Damian Priest. Watch them do that next week. We'll be seeing that. So post-match, Dominic came into the ring to check on his father. Balor and Priest kept motioning at him. So I guess trying to let Dominic come with them, and be part of Judgment Day. But that was that. And then we had Becky Lynch. Becky Lynch ended up coming out, and she stood on the commentary table with a mic in hand. And Becky ended up saying that she was devastated when she didn't win Money in the Bank. She then realized that cashing in like Liv Morgan is like winning the lottery. And Becky ended up saying that she doesn't need to win the lottery. Becky ended up saying that she then beat Asuka last week, and that should have earned her a title match. But Carmella got it instead. Becky ended up saying that she should have gotten a rematch the night after WrestleMania, but she's being forced to jump through hoops and being denied what she deserves. And Becky ended up demanding a title match at SummerSlam, and she ended up throwing down the mic. God, this was so awful. Becky Lynch is awful on the mic. She's absolutely terrible. So then Bianca ended up making her way out. Her and Becky started trash talking while Bianca was in the ring and Becky was on the floor. And then Carmella came out. And then we had the match Carmella versus Bianca Belair for the Royal Women's Championship. This was a rematch from Money in the Bank. This match was boring. The same fucking match that we saw at Money in the Bank. So Carmella ended up charging at Bianca Belair as the bell ended up ringing. And she got driven into the corner by Bianca. Bianca ended up whipping Carmella into the opposite corner. And she ended up charging into a boot by Carmella. Carmella started trash talking Bianca. And then she ended up running into a shoulder tackle. Carmella then ended up rolling out to the floor as Bianca ended up going out of the ring and ended up slamming Carmella head first on the commentary table. Bianca and Becky started jawing at each other while Becky was sitting there by the commentary table. Thank God she wasn't on commentary during this match. Thank God. So then as Raw came back from the commercial, Carmella had Bianca grounded with a chin lock. Bianca ended up fighting to her feet. Carmella ended up trying to do a head scissor, but Bianca ended up overpowering Carmella and hit the backbreaker. Carmella then ended up catching Bianca in a triangle choke over the top rope. Carmella then hit a cross body from the top turnbuckle to Bianca. She ended up going for the cover, to which Bianca kicked out at 2. Carmella ended up trying to roll up, and Bianca kicked out at 2 again. So Bianca ended up catching the crossbody by Carmella. She powered Carmella up, and she delivered a vertical suplex to Carmella. Bianca ended up running Carmella into the turnbuckles, ended up stomping on her. So Bianca ended up going for the Grand Slam, but Carmella reversed that into a roll-up, to which Bianca kicked out at 2. So Bianca ended up fighting back at Carmella. She finally got the Glam Slam on Carmella. She ended up going for the cover, to which Carmella kicked out at 2. So Carmella ended up delivering a super kick to Bianca. She ended up going for the cover, and Bianca kicked out at 2. Carmella tried to go for another super kick, but Bianca ended up catching it. She ended up putting Carmella in a powerbomb position. Bianca ended up going for the KOD, but Carmella ended up hooking the top rope to block the KOD, and she had flipped over Bianca with the X Factor. She ended up going for the cover, and Bianca kicked out at 2. So at the end of the match, Bianca ended up pushing Carmella into the ring post, and Bianca rolled Carmella into the ring. Becky Lynch ended up coming to distract Bianca as the referee was counting, and the referee counted at 9 while Bianca was being distracted by Becky. And then the referee counted 10. Bianca got back into the ring, and there you go. Carmella won the match by count out, and it was all because of Becky distracting Bianca. So it made Bianca look absolutely stupid there. So Carmella picked up the Raw Women's Championship thinking that she won it. Well, you can't win the title on a countout. So then Bianca scooped Carmella up, planted her with the KOD, and that was that. Carmella there thinking that she won the Raw Women's Championship on a countout. Sorry, Carmella. You don't win the title by a countout or a DQ. But overall, very boring, awful match this was. It's the same match that we saw at Money in the Bank, only the outcome was a countout. That we saw tonight. Then we had Miz TV. The Miz ended up making his way out. Ciampa came out. Ciampa, he's being there with the Miz. And I'm like, Ciampa feels so out of place next to the Miz. Ciampa deserves better than him helping out the Miz. So Miz ended up welcoming us to Miz TV. He introduced Ciampa. Miz ended up asking if Ciampa has any explanation for his actions. And Ciampa ended up saying that he wants the eyes of the people. And no one commands more attention than the Miz. So of course we got a typical plug from the Miz, plug in Miz and Mrs., which airs after Raw. Typical plug. Miz ended up saying that he guided social media icon Logan Paul to victory at WrestleMania. So Ciampa ended up saying that that's exactly what he wants. He wants an opportunity. Miz ended up saying that he handed Logan Paul an opportunity on a silver platter. And then Miz tossed the clip to Logan Paul. And Logan Paul wants to challenge Miz at SummerSlam. He doesn't want to tag with the Miz. He just wants to get his hands on the Miz, Logan Paul. So Miz ended up saying that he's given Logan Paul one more chance to retract his statement and reform their tag team. Or he'll find another partner in the form of Ciampa. So AJ Styles ended up making his way out. Styles ended up telling the Miz to shut your mouth. Styles ended up saying that every time his back is turned, one of them attacks him. Styles ended up winding up like he's about to mention. So Styles then led the crowd to chant tiny balls at Miz. I can't believe they're still playing this along with talking about the Miz's balls. Who needs to know about the Miz's balls? Who the fuck is writing this shit? So Styles ended up getting into the ring and he ran off Miz and Ciampa. And then Ezekiel ended up making his way out. Ezekiel ended up saying that he's never had the chance to introduce himself to Styles. He ended up saying that Elias always talks about how phenomenal Styles is. So Ezekiel then ended up saying that Elias also mentioned that the Miz has tiny balls. This is awful fucking writing. Awful. Gotta be talking about, the Miz's balls and how he has tiny balls. Are you fucking kidding me? And Ezekiel ended up saying that he talked to Adam Pearce, and he agreed to make a tag team match. So Ezekiel ended up extending his hands to Styles. Styles ended up shaking Ezekiel's hand. And on commentary, they were teasing a handicap match. But we got a tag team match. And that was that. Overall, this was awful. This was awful fucking TV. Oh, and I gotta mention, Do you all know that The Miz has a new shirt on WWE Shop? And it says, "My balls are massive," with a hello sticker on it. I'm not kidding. This is what the shirt looks like on WWE Shop. And when you look at this, you're going to be like, who the fuck would buy this? And I can't believe this is a thing. Look at it. Look at this. This is The Miz's new shirt here. And it says, "My balls are massive." Who the fuck would buy this shirt? Awful. Absolutely awful. So there you go. That was the shirt. I can't believe that is now a shirt on WWE Shop saying, "My balls are massive," for Miz's new shirt. I can't believe that is now a fucking shirt that they are selling for $28 on WWE Shop. I said, who would buy that shirt? So then we had The Miz and Ciampa versus Styles and Ezekiel. This was very meh, in my opinion. So Ezekiel had Ciampa grounded with a chin lock. Ciampa ended up getting to his feet and forced Ezekiel back into the corner. And Ciampa delivered a big chop to Ezekiel. Ezekiel ended up reversing the whip from Ciampa. And he started firing away at Ciampa in the corner. Zeke ended up running into a boot. And Miz ended up tagging in. And Miz ended up running into a hip toss by Ezekiel. And Styles ended up tagging in. Styles delivered a drop kick to The Miz. And Styles ended up bringing Miz back into his corner and tagged back in Ezekiel. Miz ended up using Ezekiel's hair to get back to his corner and tag Ciampa in. Ezekiel ended up pinning an overhead throw to Ciampa, and he ended up running back into a back elbow. So we had The Miz end up coming back in, and Miz ended up slamming Ezekiel's head into the commentary table because Ciampa ended up tossing Ezekiel out to the floor. So as Raw came back from the commercial, Miz ended up pinning a reverse neckbreaker on Ezekiel. He ended up going for the cover, to which Ezekiel kicked out at 2. Miz tagged in Ciampa. Ciampa ended up stomping on Ezekiel and he put Ezekiel in a chin lock. Ezekiel ended up fighting to his feet, and he arm dragged Ciampa. Ciampa ended up catching Ezekiel in the roll-up, to which Ezekiel kicked out at 2. So Ezekiel ended up taking in Styles. Ciampa ended up tagging in The Miz. So Styles and The Miz going at it. Styles ended up taking down The Miz. He ended up pinning a pump handle gutbuster on The Miz. And he ended up going for the coverage, which Miz kicked out at 2. Miz ended up going for the Skull Crusher finale, but Styles reversed that into a Ushigoroshi. Ciampa ended up breaking up the pin as Styles ended up going for the cover on The Miz. Styles ended up catching The Miz in the calf crusher, and Ciampa ended up running to attack Styles. And Ciampa just kept pounding away on Styles, so the referee ended up calling for the bell. And so Styles and Ezekiel won the match by disqualification. Post-match, Styles hit the phenomenal forearm over the top rope to Ciampa on the floor. And Miz ended up running back to the stage. And that was basically that. Overall, very meh match. So then we went backstage. Riddle ended up rolling up on Bobby Lashley, the almighty Bobby Lashley. Riddle ended up telling Bobby Lashley that he can't wait to get his hands on Seth Rollins. So Lashley ended up saying that he feels the same way about getting his hands on Austin Theory. So Riddle ended up suggesting to Bobby Lashley that since they have some spare time before their match, Riddle was like to Bobby Lashley, "Oh, maybe we could watch Stranger Things." He ended up saying to Lashley, "Oh, he gets scared while watching it sometimes." And Bobby Lashley ended up telling Riddle that he already finished Stranger Things. So he kept telling Riddle that he'll see him later. And then Riddle was like, "Hey, Bobby, remember the Alamo." So that was what Riddle had to say to Lashley, and that was how the backstage segment ended. So, but it's a plug for Stranger Things. I only watched the first season of Stranger Things, and I really enjoyed it. Got to pick up with the second season and watch, binge watch the second season and the third season into the current season, which is season 4. And I know some of you are probably going to be like, "What, Michael? You only watched the first season? And you haven't even watched season 2 to the current season 4? I will get to watching it. But like I said, I really enjoyed the first season of Stranger Things. It has a good cast. And I like Millie Bobby Brown. And then we had Alexa Bliss end up coming out. And we had Asuka then end up making her way out. Nikki, A.S.H, and Doudrop. We had the match Alexa Bliss and Asuka versus Doudrop and Nikki, A.S.H. This was the same match that we saw 3 weeks ago, but Alexa Bliss teamed with Liv Morgan. With Liv Morgan, now the SmackDown Women's Champion, take out her and add in Asuka, to which WWE gave us tonight, and you had the same match from 3 weeks ago, minus Liv Morgan being in it. This was nothing. This was awful. Asuka started off the match against Nikki, and Nikki ended up taking Asuka down by her hair, and then a shoulder tackle, which didn't do much. Asuka ended up catching Nikki, and she delivered a shoulder tackle, tagged in Alexa Bliss. Bliss ended up trying a few pin attempts, and Nikki ended up kicking out. And Alexa and Nikki were former friends. And Nikki ended up taking Alexa Bliss down by her hair. Bliss ended up cutting off Nikki, ended up hitting her double knee drop. Doudrop made the blind tag to Nikki, and Doudrop ended up scooping Alexa up. Nikki tagged in. Doudrop slammed Alexa, and Nikki ended up going for the cover, to which Alexa ended up kicking out of the 2. We had later on, Asuka ended up coming off the ropes. Doudrop ended up picking her ankle and pulled her to the floor. Doudrop was going for a senton, and Asuka ended up moving out of the way, so Doudrop ended up hitting the senton on the floor, missing Asuka. Alexa Bliss then hit the DDT on Nikki, ended up getting the pin on her. So there you go. Alexa Bliss and Asuka ended up winning the match. Awful match. Moving on. We had the Undisputed WWE Tag Team Champions, the Usos, in the ring. The Usos end up saying that they show up where they want to because they're still the Undisputed WWE Tag Team Champions. They end up saying that the Street Profits have been winning since Money in the Bank. And they don't care who is the special guest referee at SummerSlam, as long as they can count to 3. So we'll know who the special guest referee will be for their match at SummerSlam. So the Street Profits end up making their way out, and Dawkins end up saying that the Usos hit them with everything at Money in the Bank. It was a good match at SummerSlam between the Usos and the Profits. That was the best probably tag team match in WWE of the year. It was just that entertaining of a match, even though we've seen them go at it so many other times. But he kept saying Montez Ford's shoulder was still up. So the Profits end up getting up in the Usos' faces. They end up telling them that they're taking the Undisputed WWE Tag Team Championships at SummerSlam. So then we had R-Truth end up making his way out. And when I saw R-Truth come out, I'm like, why is R-Truth in this? But R-Truth came out. He ended up calling San Antonio the city of brotherly love. So R-Truth ended up saying the city right, San Antonio, but the city of brotherly love. Of course, it's Philadelphia. So, R-Truth and his comedy. So R-Truth ended up saying that he's a certified divorce attorney, also a marriage counselor, and he is now a tag team counselor, which he showed his certificate. So the Usos end up telling R-Truth to get lost, unless he has a referee shirt on. So Truth ended up saying that he's also a certified referee. So R-Truth ended up taking off his t-shirt, and he had a referee shirt on underneath. But can you imagine if R-Truth is a special guest referee at SummerSlam? Can you imagine that? So R-Truth ended up auditioning to be the referee at SummerSlam. He was even practicing counting, someone out of the ring, which, this was funny from R-Truth. The Usos end up saying that they have seen enough. They end up telling R-Truth to lose the shirt and take his clown ass back to the back, where he belongs. So R-Truth ended up asking the crowd if they want to see this clown ass fight. So R-Truth ended up taking off the referee shirt. He ended up saying that he'll fight both the Usos as long as he has the Street Profits as his partners. And then we had MVP and Omos make their way out. MVP was on the mic. He ended up saying that he was watching from backstage and struck by an idea. He was like, oh, why don't you let Omos be the special guest referee? And he ended up saying another idea, let Omos be part of this match. So the Usos end up liking that idea. So R-Truth and the Street Profits are down, for a fight. Truth ended up saying, remember the Alamo. And so we have the Profits and R-Truth going after Omos and the Usos. Omos ended up sending the Street Profits into super kicks delivered by the Usos. So the Profits and R-Truth were laid out. And this led to the six-man tag, Omos and the Usos versus the Street Profits and R-Truth. This was boring. This was awful. Omos was dominating, and he quickly got tagged out for Jay and the Street Profits to retake the match. Did a double team. Ford ended up covering Jay, and Jay ended up kicking out too. Truth ended up tagging in. He ended up getting backed into the corner. Jimmy ended up tagging in. And then Jimmy quickly tagged in Omos. And Omos ended up hitting a overhand chop to R-Truth. Jimmy ended up tagging in. He ended up punching R-Truth down the corner. He ended up covering R-Truth, to which Truth ended up kicking out too. Truth ended up finding out of the corner. And Jimmy ended up cutting R-Truth off with a headbutt. Jimmy stopped on R-Truth's hand and tagged in Jay. And then Jay ended up tagging in Omos. The Usos ended up trying to do a double backdrop suplex, but R-Truth ended up flipping out of it. The Profits then end up hitting drop kicks to the Usos. So the Profits and R-Truth end up managing to knock Omos off the apron with a triple drop kick, to which Omos end up laying on his feet. The Profits end up going after the Usos. They dived out onto the Usos. And R-Truth was in the ring. R-Truth dived out of the ring onto Omos. And Omos ended up catching him, which I just laughed at that. So Truth was caught by Omos. And Omos ended up dropping Truth on the ring apron. And then Raw went to commercial. And then as Raw came back from the commercial, Omos was shown working over R-Truth. He ended up delivering a forearm, which put R-Truth down to the mat. Omos knocked Dawkins off the apron, and he ended up whipping Truth into the Usos corner. Omas ended up posing and then choked R-Truth on the middle rope. Jay ended up tagging in. Omos ended up holding R-Truth for a super kick. So Truth ended up doing the splits to avoid the punch by Jay. And then he ended up hitting a back heel kick. R-Truth tagged in Montez Ford. And then Jimmy also tagged in, so it was Montez Ford and Jimmy going at it. Montez Ford ended up hitting a crossbody on Jimmy, followed up with a clothesline, and he was firing away with some kicks and delivered a blockbuster and then a standing moonsault to Jimmy Uso, to which Ford ended up going for the cover, and Jimmy ended up kicking out at 2. So we had Omos ended up going to the floor. He picked up Dawkins, and he ended up escaping, and the Street Profits ended up pushing Omos into the ring post. We had, later on, Jay ended up coming in, and Truth ended up catching him with a protobomb. Truth ended up setting up for the 5-knuckle shuffle, and Omos ended up pulling Truth out of the ring. Dawkins ended up hitting a twist and splash on Jimmy. Omos made the blind tag, and Omos ended up hitting Dawkins with the tree slam, and then that was that. Omos and the Usos ended up winning the match. Very boring match this was. Awful. Can't believe Omos was in a 6-man tag. Can you believe that, guys? And then we had Kevin Patrick. Kevin Patrick was backstage. He was interviewing Seth Rollins. Rollins ended up telling Kevin Patrick that it feels great about being in the main event. He ended up saying that he doesn't care about the true identity of Ezekiel after he beat Ezekiel last week. So Rollins ended up wanting to know who Riddle thinks he is. So Rollins was like, oh, is Riddle a savant operating on a higher level, or an idiot that Orton felt sorry for? He ended up saying that Riddle can't hide behind Orton anymore. So Rollins went on to say that when you play with fire, you get burned. So Austin Theory ended up interrupting. Austin Theory ended up asking if Rollins has any advice for cashing in Money in the Bank. Rollins ended up saying to Theory that he came to the right place. So Rollins and Theory end up walking off, and that was that. And then we saw a video message from Logan Paul. Logan Paul ended up saying that him and The Miz are done, and he wants to make sure that Miz gets the message. So Logan Paul ended up saying that he will be on Raw next Monday. Great. Thank you, Logan Paul, for making me know when to change the channel. So yeah, Logan Paul will be on Monday Night Raw next week. God help us all. So then we have Bobby Lashley. Bobby Lashley ended up making his way out, and then Riddle ended up making his way out. So we had, the main event, Bobby Lashley and Riddle versus Seth Rollins and Austin Theory. Rollins ended up making his way out. So did Austin Theory. And I thought this was a decent main event. The match started off with Austin Theory and Riddle. Theory ended up quickly taking control of the match, started pounding Riddle down the corner. Theory then tagged in Rollins. Rollins ended up dropping the knee on Riddle and tagged Austin Theory back in. Theory was flexing in front of Bobby Lashley. Riddle then reversed a whip, and he kicked away at Austin Theory in the corner. So Riddle ended up delivering a gut-wrench suplex, which sent Theory into the corner. Lashley tagged in, and ended up charging into a big boot from Theory. Lashley ended up catching Rollins with a DDT, and Theory with a flatliner also. Lashley ended up covering Rollins, to which Rollins kicked out at 2. Lashley ended up driving his shoulder into Rollins in the corner, and Lashley was going for a delayed vertical suplex, but Rollins ended up slipping out of that. Rollins then lured Lashley into going over the top rope out to the floor. Rollins ended up going for the suicide dive, and Lashley ended up catching Rollins, and he ended up running Rollins' head into the ring post. And then all of a sudden, we had Dolph Ziggler end up coming out. Dolph Ziggler ended up returning to Raw tonight. Last time we saw Dolph was when he was in NXT 2.0. So Dolph came out. He was wearing a suit and tie. And so Raw went to commercial. And then when Raw came back, Riddle was trying to rally against Rollins and Theory, and Dolph was shown sitting at ringside. Rollins ended up hitting a inverted superplex on Riddle, and he ended up going for the cover, to which Riddle kicked out at 2. Rollins then covered Riddle again, and Riddle kicked out also again at 2. So Riddle started stomping away, Rollins started stomping away at Riddle. Riddle fired up with some slaps and strikes to Rollins. Rollins cut Riddle off with a sleeper hold. He ended up getting to his feet. He ended up trying to push Rollins to his corner. Rollins ended up powering Riddle up and pushed him away. So Riddle ended up tagging in Lashley, to which Rollins also tagged in. So it was Lashley and Rollins going at it. Lashley ended up slamming Rollins and followed up with a neck breaker. Lashley ended up trying to go for the Dominator, but Rollins escaped and ended up kicking Lashley into the corner. Lashley then ended up catching Rollins and hit a power slam to him. So Lashley ended up going for the cover. Theory came in and broke up the pin. So at the end of the match, you had Theory end up getting back into the ring. He tried to go for the A-Town down. Theory ended up reversing and tried to pin Riddle with his feet on the ropes. And Dolph Ziggler pushed Theory's feet off the ropes. And Riddle ended up kicking out. So Theory ended up looking stunned at Dolph. And Riddle then hit the RKO onto Theory. And he ended up getting the cover. And there you go. Bobby Lashley and Riddle ended up winning the match. Post-match, Dolph was in the ring. And he delivered a super kick to Austin Theory. And that was how Monday Night Raw went off the air. Overall, this was a decent match in my opinion. But overall, the show was just awful. Absolutely boring. It was Monday Night Raw. What do you expect? This show fucking sucks. God awful. But anyways, that's it for my review of tonight's Monday Night Raw. Thank you all for watching. Hope you all enjoyed this review. Definitely give the video a thumbs up, comment, subscribe. And I will see you all on Wednesday night for AEW Dynamite, which is going to be night 1 of Fyter Fest. So, see you all Wednesday for Dynamite.